I think in a land of analytics and data and KPIs and ROIs and customer insights and AI, that big, pretty much unmeasurable brand work still matters and drives conversation more than anyone is really willing to admit.
Hey everyone, from Basil, this is the On Brief podcast, and I am your host, Connor Murdoch. The story you're about to hear is about two people whose weekend adventures line up perfectly with their professional philosophy. The idea that the best creative work can't always be measured. And sometimes the most important brand building happens in moments that you will never track in a dashboard. Today, Bob is Senior Creative and Strategy Operations at Patagonia, and Lindsay heads up their global events and experiences. But their story starts long before Patagonia. It starts with a bartender, a laptop, and two people who could not stop talking about adventure and storytelling.
My first boss ever said, "Don't be scared, take your laptop anywhere, get creative, and just go for it. Be that person." So I brought my laptop to the bar and I started talking to him. This was in 2012, so blogs were like a thing. And I was like, I need to find some blogs to get this movie I'm working on. What do you think? And he was like, "I love blogs." And just kind of nerding out around storytelling and adventure, and kind of the rest is history from there.
In college, Lindsay studied environmental science and thought she might become an environmental lawyer. But soon she realized that wasn't really the path for her, and that's when she got into filmmaking.
Got connected with a director, Jeff Orlowski, who produced Chasing Ice, Chasing Coral, The Social Dilemma, and I started filmmaking that way.
I grew up filming skateboarding, snowboarding with my friends and worked in skate shops. And then when I was kind of finishing college, like my junior or senior year, I interned at Crispin Porter Bogusky in their production department. And that really set my track. Our friends were like, "You guys are always on adventures. You guys are always doing something." And it just looks so much fun. But I think one of the hidden things is how much work and preparation actually goes into it, and how much time we're just late night sitting on a couch trying to figure out the cheapest flight to do the thing to get to somewhere, or being on the map trying to figure out the road to get us the closest route to get us to the bottom of the mountain to then climb the mountain. And I think that's creatively, having both worked in production, we have a really high tolerance for logisticking that allows us to kind of push into these other aspects of our life. And mountain biking, you always have to be looking 10, 15 yards ahead of you and trusting that everything underneath your body, whether you're going over a rock or something, is going to be working. But the minute that you look down to make sure that you're looking at your bike, you're gonna miss something coming up in front of you. I think in a land of analytics and data and KPIs and ROIs and customer insights and AI, that big, pretty much unmeasurable brand work still matters and drives conversation more than anyone is really willing to admit. It's yeah, you can maybe get some KPI of how many people maybe saw it, but not really track it that well. That work still matters. That's stuff that still shows up in culture in a really powerful way.
In activations, experiences, even in film where it's by the minute, the second, every single second counts, that it's actually okay to fail and to have people around you that support you in those moments, because that's the only way we learn. There's not a single event that I haven't done where there's one thing that we're just oh shoot, we could have done that better. But those are the moments of growth, and I would like to encourage my teams, and even myself, that that's okay.
You can't put a price on how somebody's reaction of even just like holding a garment in a store and just that hand feel between something that is of high quality and something that is of low quality, whether it's just like a fast fashion jacket that looks the same, theoretically does the same thing as a much more responsibly built and quality built Patagonia product. That also applies to how we ingest work out in the world. Like that, like mental hand feel of feeling the quality of creative is still very real.
Especially in your role, Lindsay, like the experiential aspect, that's hard to fake, right? Like you have to make it authentic and high quality and all those things.
You have to make it authentic. It is emotional. It's real. It's where the brand is experienced. That's not in the store for the first time. I think you have to make it feel really real, and we need great creative to hit a lot of different types of folks. So for me, it's everything.
I feel pretty lucky to have worked at agencies that have had really, really strong strategists. And I think one of the big differences being in-house is they're really like strategy in the same sense that an agency strategist exists isn't really there. And so it's a lot of times just the marketer who's working essentially on behalf of the product creation team and a creative team who's ingesting that brief. I think the thing that I've always tried to keep with me in being additive in those briefs is the human element. Like there's always the marketing objective. Like, yes, we have a new snow kit coming out. It's going to be awesome. Like the objective to bring that to market is real, but what's the human insight into that? And I think the one that like stuck out with me the most was a KFC brief that I worked on. It was just for like a bucket of chicken KFC brief, but the cultural insight had nothing to do with chicken. It was that most moms and parents are super busy. It wasn't about selling chicken, it was about time savings. And that kind of pivot on product marketing, I think really makes a huge difference. At least what I've experienced with creative teams is like the creative opportunity to talk about what you do with the extra saved time by just buying a bucket of chicken. That's like a massive creative territory that you can explore rather than just like, look how awesome this bucket of chicken is.
I work with our regions all the time. So while we brief in experiences here in North America and work directly with the marketer here, like I'll work on the programming that our 39 stores in North America might pick up. And then I will brief in our partners in the regions and create a slew of assets and programming for them to pick up. And then they'll manage it the way that makes sense for their markets, if this project makes sense for their markets. And sometimes it might be different because we're doing a elections campaign, so they wouldn't be necessarily working on that. Or for us, it's snow season here, and in Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, it's summer. And so we're piloting a program here before they get it, and then there's some learnings from that event. But yeah, we work as a global team, whether that is making sure that they have translations or how we structure our programming. But I think it's really fun. The coolest part about working with the regions is learning. How can we have a global message and footprint, but be talking to so many different types of folks around the world that still have that same emotional feeling? Last year, we ran a campaign called Running Up for Air with Strava. There was a donation component as well, and people were tracking how many vert they were running up for in the name of clean air. So we activated on a single day around the world. In North America, our events look different than in Korea because Strava wasn't in Korea, but they still took it on and made it their own. Some places had bibs, some places didn't, but we all showed up in our own way.
Yeah, I think we've grown as a global brand really kind of organically. So each of the regions has a very specific cultural following in each of the places. I would say like Japan, for example, they occupy a really unique space in Japanese outdoor sport culture, and like the idea of quality really comes through. Korea, on the other hand, is like on a really good clip right now, fighting over consumption in that market.
One of our campaigns last year focused on human powered. And I think that that's an element of how we are in the backcountry, whether that's hiking up a mountain versus heli skiing to the top, and like having that journey of making it to the top. There's that reward. I feel that craft and dedication to craft and building that as a human without AI is really central to the work that we're doing here. One of the projects I work on a lot is Wornwear, which is our resale used clothing business. And so we just did a tour where we went to the Rockies to a bunch of fly shops and fly fishing communities and repaired their waders, fly fishing waders for free, any brand, and taught people the importance of repair, keeping your gear in play for future seasons, and built that community and stoke and affinity around the brand in that way, which you just can't do with AI. That's people with their hands working, and I think that that's the same ethos when it comes to the creative work that we do here.
I definitely use AI, but I think visualizing it as a tool to help build broader ideas, that's kind of my personal sweet spot with it, is being able to kind of like quickly visualize or get feedback on pretty complex topics.
For experiences, it's pretty hard to measure it against a number, right? I can say, wow, that's great. I had this many RSVPs and this many people showed up. Or my paid marketing campaign worked because these people, mom group from Facebook, really turned up. But really, it's the feeling that people have while they're at the event and after. And that's through conversations I have with them, through follow-ups, and that's what's important. And that's what I take back to the marketers, is how we made people feel. It's hard to quantify a feeling and a movement.
For me, success, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's like the more invisible I am in strategic operations, the better I'm doing my job. Like when people are like, what do you do? It's like, I'm a cat herder. They're like, what? I'm like, creative and artistic types. I heard them. And so the more that teams that I work with, whether that is marketing side and more of the business side, or that is more of the creative side and playing that translator between the two of them, the more invisible I am and the more I can help either of those teams be like super heads down and passionate about whatever the brief or the project is, that is like success to me. And like, I grab a cup of coffee in the morning and I'm like, show up at people's desk and I'm like, so those TPS reports. But when it's going really well, people will like see me coming and they're like, dude, I got you. It's so good. And I'm like, awesome. Like that means like the machine is running. It's hard to quantify that creative machine, I think, but when it's running really well, you feel it. People feel like they have the backing and the confidence to try to swing for home runs. If it's an environment where people are consistently trying to like get on base, like hit home runs, that feels really good. And that feels like success for me. And Patagonia is a pretty funny place too, where the idea of family business is really ingrained into the foundation of the company. Like the founder is still very present. His wife is still very present. And we're one of many married couples that work at Patagonia. There's a lot of people who drop their kids off at daycare, which is on campus, go to work, get their kids out of daycare at lunch, have lunch as a family, and then go back to work. So it is a pretty unique place in terms of family, just like being really wrapped up in the business since the get-go.
I think it's really fun to work together because we love what we do. And while we don't always work on the same projects, it's really nice to be able to bounce ideas off someone who understands the brand, understands what's going on in the marketplace. And, I did that when I was doing film development as well. I just feel like you're my creative partner in life, and whether that's working in the same office or not, I feel like it's really great to play off each other in that way.
So we work in Ventura, California. It's where Patagonia is headquartered, and we live in Santa Barbara, which is about a 30-minute drive each way. And Rincon, which is a famous surf spot that we drive past whenever we're in the office, that's kind of our cutoff point. Like, there's definitely days where we get in the car to carpool back home where we're like, today, but the rule is kind of like when we make it to Rincon,
we leave it.
We gotta like
leave it
on the road.
I have to say that talking to Bob and Lindsay about their story was so refreshing and amazing to hear. In a world obsessed with optimization and measurement, Bob and Lindsay hold space for the unmeasurable. They are proving that sometimes the most important work will never be tracked in that dashboard. The conversation at a bar that starts your entire life. The feeling at an event that you create for your community or your customers. The moment when a creative team can stop worrying about the logistics and the KPIs and start focusing on the authentic work. That is the story of how two adventurers think about their life and their work at one of the world's most admired brands. Again, that was Bob and Lindsay Guerrero at Patagonia, and I'm your host, Connor Murdoch. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.